I walked in this little building, and I didn't know where I was. Oh, Lord. And when I got in the building, there was an old lady sitting down at the counter. And I said, ma'am, I don't know where I am. Where am I? She said, well, you are in a hospital where children have cancer. And I passed by the room, and I saw a little boy sitting up in the bed. And I walked in that room, and I began to ask the little boy, I said, how long have you had cancer? And the little boy told me, he said, ever since I was 2 years old. When I began to minister and tell the little man, I said, little boy, I said, God can hear you. And whatever you're going through, God is able to bring you out. Say it. Say it. Well, as I began to walk out of the hospital room, the little boy, he said, sir, you forgot to tell me your name. And I told the little boy my name. And he said, if God doesn't deliver me, if I die tomorrow or if I die today, God is able. God is able. Say it. Say it. Say it. Say it. Woo. Listen. He's able. He's able. God is able. Yes, he is.
Good morning. Good morning. It is a wonderful, 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 beautiful day on today. Welcome to Dear Life After. I am so elated that you chose to join us on today because you could be doing so many other things, but you decided to drop on by and spend this little time with us and to see what God has for us on today. Listen, I don't know about you, but God is able. So just in case somebody doesn't know that he's able, we want to remind you that he is able. So whatever it is that you're enduring, know that he's able. Know that he is able. So listen, you still have time to go ahead and tag your friends, tweet your friends, tell auntie, uncle, mama, daddy, baby daddy, Pookie, all those people, let them know to go ahead and join us live here at Dear Life After. Because listen, we're impacting lives, and so we're so appreciative that you chose to spend this time with us. We have an amazing, amazing guest for you on today. Listen, I know you say I say that all the time because that is true. All the time, the guests are amazing because anytime somebody is willing to share their story, to share their testimony, to share about what God has brought them through in their life, they're amazing because it's all about him and it's all about what he's done and he's doing in our lives. And so we have to be able to share that with others. So I encourage you to sit back and get ready as we bring on this awesome lady, Monique. Good
Good
morning. Good
morning.
morning.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
I am wonderful. How are you?
Hey, it's a new day and we get another
Yes.
opportunity, right?
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Somebody did not make it today.
My God.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Mm.
So listen, just kind of tell us a little bit in regards to like, what, I was tell us where you live and just a snippet of uh, of your background in regards to what do you do, what is your career, and things like that, and then we'll just kind of dive into it after that. We just kind of want to let them know who you are and what you do.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning. I am Monique Dewey. I'm the founder of Disability LLC here in Prince George's County, Maryland, where I pretty much help the parents and caregivers get services and resources and support that I did not get. I am a special needs mom and caregiver full time, is what I do outside of being a 6-time author, radio show host of Having a Moment with Moni radio show that streams everywhere. So I do a little bit of everything. I write, I sing, I cook, I do a little bit of everything.
That's good to be multitasked, right?
Right.
Hey, you just never know. You just never know. You just never know. Listen, so I understand that when we've had conversations and we've been trying to get to this point for a little while now, but hey,
Hmm.
it's all in His timing. So here we are on
Yes.
today. Yes, yes. So I understand that you're actually a divorcee. So you divorced,
Yes. Yes,
okay?
ma'am.
Okay. And so just kind of tell me a little bit about that. How long have you been divorced?
I've been divorced since 2003.
Okay. So you've been divorced since
Yeah.
2003.
Yeah.
And so
Quite a
how did
while.
quite a while, quite a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
And so how has the being divorced, how did the divorce coming about? How did that affect your life?
um, it came about because first of all, we were unequally yoked. Let me say that. And at the time, I was saved and he wasn't, but I was a new baby in Christ. I did not understand the mechanics of being unequally yoked. I just knew that I wanted to raise my son. I only had one at the time. Raise my son in a family unit that I did not get. My parents were not married. I spent time going back and forth like a tennis match, all that sort of thing. And I didn't want that for my son. And so we got married. He was a mama's boy, still living at home with his mom and things like that. And so we had these grandiose ideas that we were just going to get married and live happily ever after. And it was anything but.
It was
Um,
anything but.
it was anything but that. It was just a series of ongoing, just turmoil and trauma and issues and stuff to the point where I made the decision for me and my sons, because we ended up having two of them, to end the marriage. It was not healthy. It was okay, if you can say that. It was okay until about year number three, and then all hell broke loose. Like literally, the real him came out, and it became a point where it was unsafe. There was some domestic violence going on, and for me, the last straw was having his boss call me in the middle of the day to give me condolences for my son who wasn't even dead. So imagine getting a phone call, you're holding your baby, and you get a phone call from your husband's supervisor saying, "We're calling to give you our condolences. Is there anything we could do, to help you with funeral arrangements?" I'm thinking something happened to my husband. I'm like, "What are you talking about? What do you
Wow.
mean your condolences?" I'm screaming at this point because I'm thinking something happened to my husband, okay?
Okay.
And he goes, "No, I'm calling to give you condolences in the death of Jeremiah." I said, "Jeremiah who?" "I'm holding Jeremiah." He said, "What?" I said, "I am holding Jeremiah." And my husband then had convinced them that I was grieving to the point where I was out of my mind. So they didn't know who to believe. And I said, "I am holding Jeremiah." I said, "Matter of fact, I'm going to pinch him. You're going to hear him cry." And then I don't know what my husband told you. I don't know what's going on. I am a deer headlights right now. I'm actually terrified because I don't know what he went to work and told you. He said, "Well, we collected money, for a funeral and stuff." He said that you guys chose to have him cremated. I said, "Whoa, stop.
Oh
What?"
my goodness.
He went to work and gave them this elaborate story saying that Jeremiah passed away because he was born early. Now, he did tell some truths. Jeremiah was very premature. He was 2 pounds when he was born. I had him at 27 weeks because I
Okay.
bled my whole pregnancy. I bled my whole pregnancy and bled 6 weeks after. So, um, he was in the NICU for quite some time, and he did stop breathing. He did tell, like I said, some of the story, not all of the story. He did stop breathing, but they were able to resuscitate him and things like that. But he went to work and unbeknownst to me had collected money for a funeral and all this other kind of stuff. And
Oh
the
wow.
supervisor, yeah, and the supervisor was like, "All I need is a death certificate." I said, "What death certificate? He's not dead. That's what I'm trying to tell you." And at that time, Jeremiah had to stay at home because he was so small for risk of catching RSV. I said, "Sir, I will get in the car and drive to where you are so that you can see him. I don't know what he told you. I am not out of my mind. My child is in my arms." So he puts him on the phone, Sister Rosalind. This is where it
Oh,
terrified me. He puts
okay.
my husband on the phone and he says, "Honey, tell these people where the funeral home is."
my goodness. Yeah,
I said,
you
I
were
said,
dealing
what?
with, yes. Oh my.
I said, say what? He said, I said, how is it that, I said, okay, let me backtrack. How is it that you don't know where your own kid is if he did die? That's why you're not making any sense. How do you not know where your child is that you're having a funeral for if you're trying to collect money and steal money from the job?
Well, you know
I
what?
was like,
Oh,
what?
that's that just sounds very, very terrifying. Uh,
It was very,
I
very
can't even
scary. I didn't know.
imagine, the thoughts that were going through your mind at that time. Was that part of the last straw that led you to divorce?
Yeah, it was because after we had had a fight, we had had a fight where we argued, and my my oldest was 2 at the time, and I wouldn't argue with him after he got to a certain level where he was angry. I wouldn't argue with him because having gone through child abuse and knowing what the triggers are with adults after going through that as a child and being beaten,
Mhm.
I
Absolutely.
already knew what the signs were. So I wouldn't argue with him, and I was putting clothes away, putting clothes in the closet, and my oldest was running around playing with toys, whatever. So I'm in the closet hanging clothes, and he's still trying to argue. We were living in an apartment, and I was the only one paying bills at work, and he was going out the house every day with a uniform on when he had been fired a long time ago, unbeknownst to me, until I realized there was no check coming in. So when I say we went
Oh
through hell, we
wow.
went through hell. And so I would argue with him this one day, and I'm hanging clothes, and he decides to snatch me by my wrist out of the closet in front of our 2-year-old. It was That was one of the defining moments, and I was like, nope, because
Okay.
one of us or both of us gonna end up dead, and I'm like, it's gonna be you, because he triggered me when he did that, because I had went through child abuse, and back then, we
Absolutely.
ain't go to counseling and therapy, we ain't do that. Black people didn't go to counseling and therapy, we just dealt with it.
Absolutely not. Absolutely
When he
not.
triggered me, and I had one of those, I was a tomboy as a little girl, so I had one of those all steel Tonka trucks with the T-top. I took that Tonka truck out the closet, and I hit him so hard upside the head I thought I killed him. It was
Oh
that was
wow.
that was the defining moment. I was like, nope, enough is enough. Enough is
So
enough.
question. So did you after the incident with the job and him trying to make you think that, or make everyone else think that you were crazy and out of your mind, did did you ever think about, well, he needed some help?
Yeah. I After that I was like, okay, this is deeper than, what I can deal with. And so before he got home from work, we were gone. We were gone. I
So
called
when
my
that
family.
incident, so let's recap. So when that incident happened, that's when you left.
Yeah, I left
Okay.
after that. I
Okay.
called my family and said, "Look, we got to get out of here. I don't know how he's going to be when he get home. I don't know what frame of mind he's in, but guess what? I'm not going to find out." So my aunt had this little red Sentra, little four-door, little box red Sentra. We shoved everything in it that we could. I'm like, whatever's left, leave it. We'll just get new things. Now, mind you, I was not working because I had just had Jeremiah not long ago, and my body was recovering from bleeding for almost a year straight. So I didn't have no job. I had no money in the bank. I had no food stamps. I had no nothing. I left with my sons in tow with everything we could fit in the car, and I never looked back.
Wow. Wow.
I had to rebuild from scratch. We ended up in PG back then had a domestic violence shelter, but what it was, they ran it like a shelter for people who was on drugs. So I had to come home a certain time. My company had to leave at a certain time. I was like in prison.
Because even though you said you left, you said your aunt came and got you.
Hmm.
Okay. So there wasn't
I
an
had to
option to
stay
go
there.
and be with family. You had to still get
No.
housing for you and your
Yeah.
children.
Yeah, because when you go through stuff like that, people are afraid. They don't want to be involved because they don't know what this crazy person gonna do. So I got to stay with my grandmother for a couple of days, but I left her because she had Section 8, and you couldn't live with people then. So I'm like, nope, I'm not going to get her in trouble because I'm trying to run from my estranged husband. So I, signed up to get into the shelter and things like that. I already had an ex parte order that was approved by the court. I had paperwork to substantiate what was going on. I had a bruise on my wrist because my wrist was almost broken. So we moved into the shelter where we stayed for 3 or 4 months. Like I said, I had to come home a certain time. My company had to leave a certain time. I had to go to meetings. I had to do all these things. Like I was one of the people who were there that was recovering from drugs, even though that wasn't even my story.
So it was very life altering in the
It
fact that
was.
here I go from being in my own home with my children and a husband to now I am in a shelter with restrictions as if I'm
I'm
a
a
drug
criminal.
addict or something of that nature.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
wow!
So having,
Did they
to
offer
navigate through all
counseling
of that.
services there?
I didn't go to counseling. I didn't go to counseling when I was there. Between having to go to the meetings and I still had to maintain a job, which I ended up getting a little bit later, having to try to navigate through all of that, meetings and working full time. And then at that point, Jeremiah was under doctor's care for having seizures. I was going through a lot. So counseling wasn't even on my radar. My thing was I was safe and sound. He couldn't hurt me anymore. Let me get my kids together, get them squared away, because now they have to get used to not being in the home with their father anymore. And it was like my worst nightmare was coming true, and I felt horrible as a mother. I was trying to, grasp at straws to give us this life that I imagined that I would give my kids, that they wouldn't have to have the life that I had growing up with my parents. And so I just pretty much ran myself ragged, every day of the week trying to work and do the meetings. And then the kids were not with me during the week. My grandmother kept them during the week so I could go to work because where I worked at versus where I lived at was too far to kind of try to take them, back and forth somewhere for a
Right,
babysitter
absolutely.
because I didn't have a car anymore. The car was his. I mean,
Right,
so I
right.
didn't have that transportation anymore. So I didn't see my kids until Friday of every week.
Oh
I
wow.
worked during the week and all that. I was without my children until the weekend.
Well, you know what? And
So,
this is another instance in where, I think so often that uh, mothers don't actually get the credit that they are so due. They don't get their flowers because, as a mother, you were your main concern was the safety for your children, and so you
hmm
did what you needed to do, what you had to do, by enduring, a very uncomfortable situation.
yeah,
And so I think that, Mother's Day should be every day and not just,
yeah,
once a year, so to speak, because, our mothers, have to definitely make sure that we are taken care of, that we are safe. Uh, and that's so important. Like you said, you didn't want your children to grow up as if you did in certain
hmm
situations, but so often, God always has a plan for us, even though, it might not seem like it when bad things happen. He definitely always knows, what we can endure because he knew that you'd be able to share this story, to help impact somebody else, let them know because somebody else would have definitely given up, because like you had to go to a shelter,
hmm
you know, and so that is life changing,
yeah,
to
yeah,
go from your own home to having to be in a shelter. That's definitely life changing, that's for
yeah.
sure. I really commend you because yeah, that's life changing. And there are so many people that would not. And people have to know that yes, sometimes, it's not all pretty.
Mm-mm.
The
At
process
all.
isn't necessarily pretty. But
hmm
today, you have, your children and you're in a safe place. Did you ever like at what point did you hear from him? Did he
I
reach
mean,
out
we,
to try to contact you?
of course, because he, I guess he never thought I was going to leave or anything like that. And the thing about it is, we tried, or should I say, I did, because he didn't make the effort. I said, okay, listen, if we go to counseling or therapy and you work through your issues, I'm like, because I have issues that I need to work through too, then maybe we could salvage the marriage. But if you're not willing to do the work, I can't carry your burdens for you. And so we went to see my pastor at the time, who was a certified counselor as well. And we did the first meeting and stuff. And he just sat there so uninterested. His body language, his posture was like, well, I'm just doing this because if I do it, she will take me back type. And when the meeting was over, the pastor came to me and said, Monique, leave. He doesn't want it. Leave. I don't know what you got going on or whatever, but he doesn't want it. He wants the idea of the marriage and having a family, but he's not in it. He said, yeah, I said, and I told him, I said, well, I could tell by his answers and things like that. It don't take a rocket scientist to see that he wasn't interested from the very beginning. And so after that, like I said, I had already did my paperwork and all that sort of thing. And I told him I had already started the paperwork and things like that. So I really didn't have no intention of going back for real, for real. I just wanted to call his bluff to prove that he wasn't
But
going to do,
what,
what he said he was going to do.
but what were your emotions? I mean, like here you are sitting here with the person that you married, and obviously at some point you loved him, was in love with him, and thought you would
Hmm.
spend the rest of your life with him. So now you are sitting here realizing again that this person doesn't actually want this, doesn't actually want our family, don't want me. What were you feeling? What were the emotions? What were you thinking?
First of all, I already was going through postpartum because Jeremiah was born early, and that brought on a whole slew of emotions of mom guilt and anger and sorrow because my kid had something that I couldn't take him to a doctor to get rid of and all that. I didn't know really what cerebral palsy was back then. There was not a lot of information. The internet had just came out. So I was already processing that. And I was grieving because in the midst of having him, my mother's mother passed away. So there was quite a bit going on during that time. And so to have the marriage fail and having my family and stuff to say, I told you so, and all this kind of stuff, it just made me feel worse. I was depressed. I was suicidal. I was mechanical. I was in survival mode. I just, kind of blocked everything, tried to block everything and everybody else out because I'm like, if I don't, I'm going to take me out and I'm going to take my kids too because I'm not going to leave them here to deal with this. Period.
So, so in the midst of postpartum depression, your child had been diagnosed with cerebral palsy.
Having
You had
seizures.
lost your great grandmother,
My maternal grandmother.
your maternal grandmother,
Hmm.
and here your marriage is over because this person doesn't want to. Uh, wow.
It was a lot.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I did
absolutely.
go to therapy.
There are so many people. There's somebody. There is somebody that would have lost their mind literally
I almost
because
did.
I mean,
I
but
almost
hey,
did.
as the song say, you almost let go. However,
Yeah.
he kept you.
Oh, yes. I'm
He
the
kept
poster
you.
child for that song. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I went to therapy and
absolutely.
stuff. I did therapy and they put me on Prozac or something, and the Prozac made me feel worse.
Wow,
I went from
wow.
being mechanical to just staring, staring off in space for hours and hearing my kids but not hearing them. And I called my godmother and I said, I don't like the way I feel right now. She said, what do you mean? I said, I don't like the way I feel. She said, what did they give you to take? And I said, they gave me Prozac and sleeping pills because I wasn't sleeping and stuff like that. She said, I need you to flush them down the toilet right now. Don't take another pill. God is going to get you through this. I know that they told you to take that stuff and you tried it. She said, I'm on my way over there. And she came over and I mean, after I looked at myself in the mirror, says I didn't even recognize who I was. My eyes was black as midnight,
Oh wow.
and I was terrified. I was just like, I don't know what's getting ready to happen. And I thank God that I had the mind to call to reach out to somebody. And that's the thing I want to tell people. When you know that you're not right, please stop sitting there acting like you can handle it because you can't.
Ah,
Listen, you don't know what you're
yes.
gonna do. You think you're in control at that moment. I was almost out of control because it was just so much on me at once. It's sort of like the cartoon when everything comes down and then the feather finally drops and then it all hits. That's how I felt. I felt like I got hit by a Mack truck with all of this all at once. And I'm sitting here with my babies and they're looking at me, like, okay, you're mommy and we
Yes,
trust you. And I'm like, God, what am I supposed to do? Like they're looking at me for answers and I'm like, I don't even know if I have answers for myself, much less
absolutely.
them. And I was like,
Absolutely.
God, yeah, I was like, God, if you
Yes,
don't help me,
absolutely.
I'm out of here. I'm just gonna take myself out and take them with me, and we just gonna go be with you or wherever we supposed to go and be done with it. Cause I don't want them to sit here suffer for the rest of their life without a mother and a father, cause he's not gonna be a father. So I just kind of rationalized, okay, maybe death is better.
And I think that's the thing is that people, they look at you now and people would say, oh my God, I can't believe you've been through that. And I think that's what people have to understand is that we don't know, because when we see a person, we don't actually know what they're going through. That's why I tell people, so often we judge people. We judge a book by its cover, so to speak, as I say. But you got to know the story. You got to open the pages and read the book to actually know. I mean, and to have all of those things that you were dealing with and trying to endure, and then you went to see someone. And so in the point of you going to see someone, you weren't just being counseled, so to speak. They put you on medication that actually
Yeah.
made you worse. And so there are so many people that would have never ever, like you said, we have to be transparent. We have to check on our people, and we have to always have that person that we can call on, because we just don't know, like you say. And it's okay to not be okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because we're human. We're not bricks. We were not made to carry this amount of stress and duress and stuff like that. I say this a lot on my show. You get one microspeck of dust in your nose, you got a whole cold or a whole sinus infection. That lets you know you're not meant to do all that. God did not ask us to be strong. He said to be strong in the Lord. There's a difference. And we have
Absolutely.
to dismiss and dispel that, oh, I'm being strong. No, you're not. You're killing yourself. Is what you're doing because your body is responding to these changes. And so, going through all of that, it was a lot. And only thing I can tell y'all is it was all God, because I'm telling you, I was out. I had checked out. I was like, look, whatever's gonna happen, gonna happen. And
And
I was
that and
saved.
that's
I,
what
I, I was saved then too. So, I was like, okay, God, where you at? Where you at?
so in doing that and going through all of that, and you saying, God, where you at? So were you angry with God?
Oh yeah. Can I tell you that every now and then I'm still angry?
Hey, yeah, because I want you to keep it real. So absolutely.
I'm still angry. Sometimes I'm still angry because I'm like, God, you could have just made him act right. You could have just made the marriage work. Let me backtrack. You could have just made my childhood so I wasn't abused as a child with my mom and all that kind of stuff, and watch her go through using drugs and getting beat by every man she was with, only for the generational curse to follow me. So yeah, I'm like, God, okay, you could have let my son be born healthy like everybody else's kids, not realizing that other people had, you know, kids with disabilities too, because my brother has autism. But I'm like, God, you could have not let my brother have autism and all that. You could have just made it anything else but this. And so my question to you is, why didn't you? And then how are you supposed to expect me to want to worship and love you and live for you and all that? And all I know is pain and tears and abuse and trauma and all that. What am I supposed to do with that? I mean, like, what am I supposed to do with that? Preach to who? Tell them what? I don't
Yeah,
even want to talk
tell them,
about it.
tell the truth. But you know what? Because you didn't know that you would be here today telling them
Yeah.
that he brought you through that.
Yes, ma'am. I was like, tell them what? I don't want to talk about having a child with a disability because my brother got one. And I watched my mother go through some of the same things with my brother back in the 70s. They called her retarded. And he would rock and shake his hands. They would say, that's the mother with the retarded child. How about her name is Patricia and she's a real person? And it's still like that to this day. I'm not just Monique. I'm Monique who have a special needs son, Jeremiah, that's in the wheelchair. Hello, I'm more than that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm
You
more than a
more than
special needs
that
mom.
because you belong to him.
Yes.
So
And
that in
so
itself
having,
makes you more.
yeah. So yeah, I'm just every now and then, sis, when I have my days and I have them, and I love, the support system that God gave me because Lonnie B is one of them. When I first met her, I think I talked to her for like 2 hours in tears. I was like, I don't want this. I don't want to go talk to nobody about disability. I don't want to form no company. I don't want to have no radio show. I don't want to do no blogs. I just want to forget about this and be normal. I don't want all of that. I want people to see Monique for who Monique is and be done with it. I don't want the label. I don't want the stigma. I don't want none of that. Can I just live my life and just be as carefree as possible? I felt like I deserved a free pass from God from uh the trials and tribulations and all that kind of stuff. Cause I went through a lot. You know what I'm saying? I'm like,
Yeah,
God,
you
can you
did,
see
but you
me?
are
Can you-"
you're normal because you didn't understand that he was going to use all of that for your good.
Mhm.
He was going to
I'm
use
like,
all of
yes,
that you endured so that he could be glorified. I mean, because
I was
I'm
like, can
telling
you
you,
see
like
it?
literally, like people think that it's a cliche, but it's not a cliche because here you are sitting, you almost lost your mind, but you are here today with a sound mind, knowing,
Yes,
able to make good decisions, and you are praising him, giving him the glory for the things that he brought you through in your life. So it's not a cliche. Because let me tell you, he will use the things that we think are so bad, and we think we'll never get through them, we'll never make it out. Like you said, you want to know, God, where are you? What? Why could you not have made my life different? But
yes,
he, but he
yes,
built, but he built you for this because he knew that you would be the person to stand flat-footed and tell everybody what he's done. Because listen, somebody else would have literally lost their mind. Somebody
yes,
else would not have known, would not have reached out to somebody because that was our God. That was our predestined to happen. Those were things that he allowed so that you could be the person that he needed you to be for his glory. And that's so
yes,
amazing. So
yes,
you are not just normal, but you are his. You belong to him. And that's the
yes.
amazing thing. That's the thing that, so somebody gets to see, somebody's life will be changed because they're sitting here thinking, oh my goodness. Because people think so often that when they go through a bunch of bad things, that they're the only one that's dealing with them.
Yeah,
And that's not the
yeah.
case. That's not the case.
Mhm.
So they don't know what to do because they like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But God, as they say, but
But
God.
God.
Yeah. So when you praise him and you're saying he's able, because you can say that with
Oh, I
conviction
know.
because you know he able.
Oh, yes.
It's not something that somebody else told you. It's because
Mm-mm.
you know that he's able.
Oh,
You know he's
yes.
able.
But God.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
ain't want, and I ain't want it, sis. I've had people from ever since I got married to prophesy and say, well, God said this and God said that. I was like, that's nice. You know, I was like, okay, you know. They would say, oh, you're going to prophesy to the nations, you're going to preach it, this and that. And I'm like, if you say so. I wasn't there. I wasn't even in that neighborhood. I was like, if you say so, Monique ain't doing nothing.
You would
But
say
God,
you wasn't on that street, you wasn't in that
no,
neighborhood.
I
You
was,
were like,
yeah, I was beefing with God. I was like, look, God, if you don't do X, Y, Z, I'm not doing none of that. Because how am I supposed to? Why do you want me to preach to
now
people?
say that again. You were beefing with God.
I was beefing with God bad. I said, look, why do you want me to do all this? Why do I have to go through all this for me to do all this? You could have just put whatever it was you wanted me to say. You could have just anointed me to do whatever, and it would have just been done because the impact comes from you. It don't come from me. The word is your word, not mine. I'm just a conduit. So why did I have to go through all of that to get here? I didn't have to go through all that to get here. You could have just blinked, But
See, but you know what? You know what's so funny is that, it's ironic that you say that when you could have just blinked, because now we live in an age of self gratification. A
Yeah,
microwave.
microwave.
And so we want things, we want to put it in the microwave because we want it to be ready in 30 seconds. We don't want to wait. And some things have to go in the oven, baby, because
Yes.
they gotta cook for a while so that they
Cook,
can get
cook.
ready, so that they can be brown evenly and all of that other good stuff. So when they come out, it's just what he needs it to be. And
Yeah.
that's the situation. Yeah.
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 I'm just like, how am I supposed to? And somebody asked me this. They like, Monique, how how do you worship a God that you know that can do anything you need him to do and take all this away from you in the moment, in a twinkling of an eye, but he won't. Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah.
I was like,
Well,
listen,
well, hey.
and listen, I still trust him. That's why. Because I know where I was prior to this. That's how I could trust him. Yes, my son is 23, and no, he still hasn't walked a day in his life and changed none of his clothes and can't cook no food and all that. But I've seen the progress that God has done in his life. I still see what God is doing in his life. So if it takes until I say yes and amen for the last time for him to get to where God said he was going to be, then God has got. But in the
Yes.
meantime,
Yes.
my job, like you said, is to live for him and show forth his glory and to tell the story. I'm still sitting here
Absolutely.
because of him. Monique didn't get here because Monique did it on her own. Monique was ready to go. And every now and then that thought crossed my mind. I'm like, okay, God, is it time for us to go yet? Because this is crazy. This life ain't, look, I don't know what this is. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what this is. But I still choose to trust you in the midst of it. Does it hurt? Yes. Every day it hurts me to have to tell
Absolutely.
people that I got a kid that I have to take care of 24/7, whose father does not help me with him in no way, shape, form, or fashion. I can't just go get my nails done. I can't just go on a cruise with my
Yes,
girlfriend. I
right.
can't just go down the street to the movie theater and all that. It takes a whole like blueprint, and team of
Yeah.
people to
Life
take care
altering.
of him now. Yeah, it's been life altering for me every single day I wake up with this. Every single day. And every single day I wake up and go, okay, maybe this is the day I'll go downstairs and my son is sitting up on the bed like God promised, and he's gonna be like, "Hey, mom, how you doing?"
But you know what? He built you for this. He prepared you. He put you in the oven and cooked you until you were ready to come
The heat
out.
is hot, sis. I'm telling you, the heat is still hot. Well, I ain't done yet. That's
That
just it. I ain't
absolutely
done
not.
yet.
No, no. Because you know what? Just because it's one thing that he took you out the oven for. Sometimes we have to go back in the oven for some other stuff.
Woo! Yes, indeed.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes we have to go back in the oven and cook some more because you know what? Hey, okay, I got you ready for that, but you know what? Now I need
You
to
ain't ready
build
over
you,
here.
yeah, for something
Yeah,
else. Yes,
yeah. So
absolutely.
it's been a journey because guess what? Now Monique has to forgive herself because I carried this mom guilt for so long of having a kid with a disability. I literally thought it was my fault, sis. Even though I did all the right things when I was pregnant, I thought it was my fault. I was like, what did I do? I'm holding my kid going, Mommy is so sorry.
My God. Yeah, that's heavy. That's heavy to feel like it was your fault, you know, but it's a big step, in being able to
Yeah.
release that and forgiving yourself, because that's the first step in being able to move on, because
Yeah.
that weight is lifted, because God didn't want you to carry that. It's kind of like we going on a trip and you've packed this luggage, and so I don't put all of your luggage in here with mine, knowing that what, that ain't my stuff. I have to. I got my stuff packed up in here, and now I'm trying to carry yours. I can't carry
Yeah.
this stuff. It's for God to
Yeah.
carry. That's why I tell us to cast our burdens on Him. So we got to quit carrying around luggage, baggage
Yeah.
that doesn't belong to us. you know, and
Yes.
that's, and I know it's easier said than done, but we gotta open up them suitcases and empty that stuff out.
Oh yes.
We
Yeah.
gotta
That has
unpack.
to be the thing.
We gotta unpack.
And I'm still unpacking, sis. Can I be honest? I'm still unpacking.
Absolutely, because
Because I had to
everybody's
let go of
process
that
is
stuff.
different. Everybody's
Yeah, I had to
process
let
is
go of
different.
that.
Yes,
I had to learn how to
yes,
forgive myself and how to love myself and see myself as God see me. Because of course, as a woman who has a child with disability, you feel like you're defective or something. So now you're afraid to be in relationships because if you be in a relationship and the man wants to have a kid, you're like, you don't want to have kids coming from me because you going to get what you going to get. You know what I'm saying? It comes with a whole lot of things that people don't talk
yes,
about, but I will. I didn't want to have another kid. I was like, how am I supposed to push a stroller in a wheelchair? So everybody that I've encountered who tried to, I'm like, I'm not having any more children because I was so afraid that the next child would have something wrong with him or her, and I didn't want to carry that guilt all over again. So I just said, if I don't desire it, then I'm not gonna try. I'm not gonna do all that. And
absolutely.
so I didn't, and it wasn't because I did not want to have more kids. Let me say that. I wanted to have a daughter, hopefully, but I just the magnitude of realizing that I could possibly have another special needs kid, I weighed all of that. So I just totally kicked it out of my head
Mm,
of having another child. So that's out. That's not happening unless the Lord say so, of course, because I don't get to control that part. But I just didn't want
absolutely.
to do that.
Yes.
I was afraid to be in relationships for the longest time because I'm like, uh, y'all, these dudes ain't, y'all not ready for this that I have to carry. It's gonna take a special kind of man that God puts together to be able to handle this world that I'm in with my son.
Absolutely.
I'm a
Absolutely.
package deal. You're not gonna separate me from my son. I'm a package deal, and my son requires a lot of care and a lot of adjustment and things like that. You gotta have the patience to deal with that. You gotta have the wherewithal to deal with that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So going. I'm still in the oven because I had to learn how to forgive myself, and then I had to learn how to forgive my ex-husband and not hate him and want to run him over with my car. You know.
Now
Yeah.
listen, I mean, you know what? But that's a natural emotion, when
Yeah.
somebody has hurt you, I believe. And
It
that's
is.
the thing, is that that's the first thing, of course, because at first we not like, okay, well, God, you know what, I need to do something different. Now you be like, I want to hurt you.
Mm. Yeah, because I mean, especially when his father does not live out of state. His father is very capable of coming over to help me with him and things like that, and he doesn't. He doesn't help me with him at all. He doesn't ask about him. He doesn't go to any doctor's appointments or anything like that. But yet, if something happens to Jeremiah or he's in the hospital, I still let him know what's going on with him and give him that respect. But no, he has a relationship with our oldest son. They go hang out and do everything, whatever. It's like Jeremiah's like, it's one of them things that if he think about it, then oh well, okay, I'll come and see him on his birthday. Whoop de doo. So
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I
and
tell
so
people,
that fuels my anger. That fuels it all over
yes,
again. So I have to keep myself in check because I'm like, okay, God, this ain't new. This ain't nothing new. This been like this for 23 years. So I have to learn how to maneuver when I have them days where I feel like, I'm like, if you'd have just helped me, then things would be a little bit easier and more manageable. But you're so busy worried about if I'm if you're stopping me from having a life, which you are not, let me say that. That you done gone on about your business. I'm like, Lord, that's not fair. He gone on about his business. He got, having a happy life and going on cruises and trips. And I'm sitting here trying to find two babysitters to watch him just so I could go to a comedy show or something. I'm like, where's the justice in that? So here I am shaking my fist at God again, like, God, look, what are you
and
doing?
and wanting to go run him over, huh?
Yeah, so I've checked myself, I'll be honest.
Yes.
Jeremiah had a birthday last year, and I didn't even know that, he was coming over or anything like that. If I was petty, I would have been like, nah, for what? You don't see him? You don't take care of him? You don't do that? What you want to come over for? But I didn't do that. I was like, Lord, this is about Jeremiah. And let me tell y'all something. It doesn't matter how long Jeremiah goes without seeing his father. When he sees him, his whole face lights up, his whole demeanor changes. And it taught me something. Even with my
Absolutely.
relationship with God, when God shows up for me, baby, you can buy me for a penny.
There you go.
Even when I can't trace God and I think God is all the way down there, when God shows up, baby, I'm already, listen, I'm on my face saying thank you, God. And that
Absolutely.
taught and that
Absolutely.
taught me it doesn't matter. So if that's what Jeremiah needs to feel complete and things like that, and that's all that he's offering, guess what? I pray that whatever's going on inside of Jeremiah's spirit, when he see his father, that he feels the love of God, his heavenly father, when he see him.
Yes, absolutely.
And it
Absolutely.
took maturity for me to get there. I didn't get
Absolutely.
there overnight. I told you I wanted to run him over. So,
See, it's
but
a
it took
process.
maturity to get there. Yeah, I had to stay in the oven. I said, okay, Lord, I got to go back in the oven. I ain't there.
Yeah, but that's
So,
the thing. Everybody's process is different, and I think that's what people
yeah,
need to know is that sometimes it is continual. It's a
it is
continual thing
continual.
that
Healing is continual.
sometimes there are going to be triggers, and you go back and you be like, okay, well, I want to run him over. However, I know that's not the thing to do, but again,
No,
you know, you check yourself in regards to, okay, well, you know what? My son lights up when he sees him, even though for me, he's not here, helping tend to him and these things that he could do. But for whatever
hmm
reason, this is what, is being allowed to happen. So
yes,
here we
yes,
are. Here we are, and God has never failed you. You ain't missed a beat
never.
in being able to take care of Jeremiah because God wants to remind you as well that what, not only do you belong to him, but so does Jeremiah. And so
Yes,
even when his natural daddy ain't there, his spiritual daddy, God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit is there at all times. And so therefore you
yes.
or Jeremiah your needs will always be met.
All of them have been messages. And I can tell you guys, I have been home about 18 or 19 of his 23 years. I've had a spotty work history. I think I've had maybe a good 2 year work history with DCPS or PGCPS. Not one time have we been evicted. Not one time has any of our utilities got cut off. Not one time has our refrigerator been empty. Not one time has there not been gas in the car. I have not missed not one car payment. No more, no car insurance payment, no nothing. Okay,
See?
so
But
God
God,
is exactly who He say He is, and He does
but God.
exactly what He says He's going to do. But God, but here's the thing. This is what I had to learn, Monique. You don't get to micromanage God. You don't get to show God how to do what you're asking Him to do. You only get to ask Him, and if He says yes, He do it in His way for His good and your glory. I mean, His glory and your good. He answers in righteousness and holiness, not what you think He should answer.
Yes,
And that's
absolutely.
where we get tricked
Absolutely.
up at. We want him to answer the way we want him to answer. And then when he doesn't, we fall out. We fall out. We fall apart and go, God, you're not doing what I asked you and all that. He actually is. He's just doing it in his way. His thoughts are
And
not your thoughts. His
that's
ways
right.
are not our
That's the key.
ways.
That's the key. His way.
Yeah,
That is
his
the key.
way.
Yes,
You gotta put your
absolutely.
agenda aside. You gotta put your agenda aside. What you thought, listen, I did not think my life would be
Absolutely.
anything like this. I was an executive secretary for OPM Sys, working with a good government job with benefits back in the day when they
She
were
said,
benefits. I thought I was
listen.
going to, work for OPM, get my plaque after 30 or 40 years, retire, go on vacation,
But
probably be
see,
married by
he
then.
had some other
Anything but
plans
that
for
has
you.
happened.
He had
Yes,
some other
ma'am.
plans for you.
Everything but that. I was like, well, Lord, that escalated quickly. I didn't see it in that. I was not trying to write no books or none of that. Sis, I had no intentions of writing no books or none of that.
Well,
None of that was
listen,
in my view.
listen, let me tell you, I'm just, oh God, I mean, it just brings chills to my body. Hearing your complete story, hearing the things that God has brought you through. Uh, it's a reminder to me in regards to what he will do, what he can do. Uh,
hmm
you know, like I said, that it's definitely not a cliche about, I could have lost my mind. Um, because
hmm
God is definitely exactly who he says he is. And for the person who doesn't know him, uh, please, reach out. We're here. If you need somebody to
I'm
pray with
telling
you, if you
you.
need somebody to talk with you, you
Yes.
know, reach out to us at dearlifeafter@gmail.com, or call us on the phone, because we want you to know that you do not have to endure whatever trial or tribulation it is that you have. You do not have to endure it by yourself. Somebody will help guide you through, whether that is getting you to an actual licensed counselor or whatever that is. We want you to know that you do not have to endure that alone. You know, that we will always be here to try to help you to get the resources that you need, because that is why God has us here, have us here. It's not for us. It's not for anything that we've done, not because we're some great people or something like that, or
Hmm.
that we're so deserving. But even in spite of all the bad decisions that I've made,
Yes.
God has brought me through. So I get another chance every day that He breathes breath in my body, and I don't take it for granted. I get an opportunity to be able to try to impact somebody else's life, and that is the goal, is to try to help somebody else along the way, along the journey of life, because we don't know what somebody else is dealing with behind closed doors. So often we see people and we see them and we think that everything is okay, but we don't know what they're dealing with. So don't think that you have to deal with it by yourself. Uh, Not just, Monique on today and all the things that she's endured and that God has brought her through, but all the guests that we've had, that we have on here, there is something that God has done in their life so that He can be glorified. And
Yes.
so that is why we're here, because we want you to know that you don't have to deal with everything, the after, by yourself. So whether you've been through divorce, domestic violence, whether you've been to prison, whether you've been through, childhood sexual assault, whatever it is, just know that there is somebody that can help you. There's somebody that can help you. But even outside of that, even outside of God placing us here to be a resource, that's only because we live and we're strong in His strength, not because of something that we can do on our own, but because of Him. So please, uh, we want you to, if you need to get in contact with Sister Monique because you also have a child, or and you're dealing with a child that is disabled, that has something, please reach out to her. Her email and her phone number and everything is going across the screen. Please, please reach out. Just know that you
Yeah.
don't have to endure it. You do not have to endure it by yourself at all.
That's right.
Never. You do not. God has always placed someone there to be able to help you through. We want you to know that this platform, Lonnie B and Company Network, that we have so many awesome shows that are impacting lives. On Monday through Thursday at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, we have Morning Tea with Lonnie B. And listen, you want to start your day off with the word. So start it off with Lonnie B, Monday through Thursday at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. Then we do not want to forget, every second and fourth Friday, we have the repairs with Manny Cush, with my brother Manny. You don't want to miss it. Listen, they get into the word. Listen, he ain't playing. And then come along on the second and fourth Monday, we have Blue Ministries. You do not want to miss this at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. You do not want to miss that. And then on Sundays, hey, we come back with Motivation Moments at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time with host Greg Bloomfield. Listen, he is giving the word. He's giving the word. You don't want to miss that at all. You do not want to miss that. And also, if you would follow Lonnie B and Company Network on YouTube, as well as on all other social media platforms. We would greatly appreciate that if you would follow us all, as well as Lonnie B and Company Network on all the social media platforms. Your support, the followers would really help us. So please, please pass that on. Like I say, tag your friends, tweet your friends, let them know what is going on here on this network. We really appreciate that support. So we're going to get ready to close out, but also if you want to, if God has placed it on your heart to donate to this ministry, because it is a ministry, then please, you can Zelle or Cash App. It is going across the screen. This is for the uplifting of his kingdom. This doesn't have anything to do with Ronson. I am just a vessel. I just do what he tells me to do. And so this is something that he's put on my life. And so that is why I'm here. But in the midst of that, listen, we're going to close it out with our Dear Life After. And after that, we'll tell you thank you for joining us, and how about meeting us here every week at 11 a.m. But in the meantime, Dear Life After, I didn't know that you existed. Dear Life After, as we were going through the trials and the tribulations, we didn't know what to do. But Dear Life After, you so often gave us what we need. Dear Life After, as we endured the pain, the heartache. Dear Life After, as we were desperate, not knowing where you were. Dear Life After, thank you. Thank you, because Lord knows we didn't know you existed. Dear Life After, as we were desperate for a way out. Dear Life After, we thank you for showing up and showing out. Dear Life After, we are so grateful that you exist. Dear Life After, someone doesn't know you. Dear Life After, because of you, we are on today. Dear Life After, show someone else who you are. Dear Life After, we thank you. Thank you so much for joining us on today. We're so grateful. We're so grateful for all that you've done. And we just appreciate you continuing to support Dear Life After. So as I always say, make it a great day on purpose.
Thank you, Jesus. I'm reminded of a story about a couple of years ago. I walked in this little building, and I didn't know where I was. Oh, Lord. And when I got in the building, there was an old lady sitting down at the counter. And I said, ma'am, I don't know where I am. Where am I? She said, well, you are in a hospital where children have cancer. And I passed by the room, and I saw a little boy sitting up in the bed. And I walked in that room, and I began to ask the little boy, I said, how long have you had cancer? And the little boy told me, he said, ever since I was 2 years old. Well, I began to minister and tell the little man, I said, little boy, I said, God can hear you. And whatever you're going through, God is able to bring you out. See it. See it. Well, as I began to walk out of the hospital room, the little boy, he said, sir, you forgot to tell me your name. And I told the little boy my name. And he said, if God doesn't deliver me, if I die tomorrow, or if I die today, God is able. God is able. Say